So, yeah, you can hear my voice properly, right?
Yes.
So this was again played in World Championship match. This time it's between Michael Botvinnik and Vasily Smilov. Both are from Russia. Both are from USSR, former USSR, and both are world champion. And this was played in World Championship match between Michael Botvinnik and Vasily Smilov. And in 1954 World Championship, Smilov lost to Michael Botvinnik because it was not like Botvinnik won the game. What happened was uh, 7 matches Botvinnik won, 7 matches Smilov won. Probably 1 or 2 matches the game was drawn, and because the whole championship was drawn between Botvinnik and Smilov, Botvinnik regained the title. But Smilov defeated in the next World Championship, probably in 1956 or 57. They played one more World Championship, and in that Smilov defeated Botvinnik and he became World Champion. So both are really good players, and both have their own style of play, and they have they have influenced chess enormously with their own style of play. As I told you before, Botvinnik was very famous for his opening and middle game skills, and Vasily Smilov is very practical player. Very practical player. He was not particularly strong at some part of the game. He's very practical player. He plays simple and effective chess. So let's see this game. Botvinnik again was white, and as I told you before, he played d4 again. This is what I told. Many matches he used d4, and I'm yet to find why he prefers d4. I am searching in his books whether he has said something about this. So white played d4, black played knight f6, white played c4, black played e6, white played knight c3, black played bishop b4, and white played e3. Again, one more time, e3 system in Nimzo Indian. And as before, this knight e2 came. And instead of moving the knight to g3, this game Botvinnik moved knight to f4. That is the only difference between the game between Michael Botvinnik, Keras, and Michael Botvinnik and Vasily Smilov's game. Okay. Now, black played b6, white played knight ge2. This is still opening. Bishop to a6. Now, if you are worried about this bishop, we are not moving the bishop directly. Once we move the knight here or here, then the bishop will be free to move. This knight will not be here for long time. Now this bishop on e6 is attacking the c4 pawn. Now what white played was he just played e3 attacking the bishop. Black has no time to take the pawn. Black moved the bishop to e7 and now white played knight f4. So when he played knight f4, automatically support came to c4 pawn. Black played d5 and white exchanged the pawns and piece. Here there is a king. Now looking at this game, many a time what I felt was this is also preparation, home preparation. Because yeah, at Botvinnik's strength, Botvinnik can play without home preparation. But in a world championship match like that, like this, I don't think Botvinnik played with intuition. This is home preparation according to me. But the important thing that I learned from the Botvinnik is his attacking skill. That too, his attacking skill on the king side, how he attacks the black pieces with his white pawns. That is what very uh, interesting thing, interesting thing to me. Now it was white to play. Look at the white side. One rook is on a1, one more rook is on h1. This bishop is on c1. So many pieces are still inside, and it was white to play. White wants to create something out of this. Many a time when we get this position, we will try to play queen or bishop. We'll try to move the uh, pieces, but what we understand is the position dynamics. Here, what world champion played was he played g4, keeping pressure on the black side. That pawn is just rolling to the other side. See how dynamic personality the Botvinnik has. He's trying to play with the g4, g5, h4, h5 like that. Now there are two attackers. There are two attackers to the pawn, two defenders, and Smilov saw that g5 is coming, so he played c6, and Botvinnik played g5. Smilov played knight d7. I think that is the only move because these two places already blocked. There is no point here, so this is the only square. And Botvinnik played h4. Such a wonderful piece of chess. With knight and two pawns here, white is trying to pressurize the black side. Also, we should not forget about the rook. Black immediately played bishop d6. The idea is very simple. He wants to swap this and release tension on the black side. But Botvinnik didn't want to have this double pawns here, so he just played e4. The idea is that if bishop takes knight is played, then bishop takes bishop, and that opens the pieces. Black simply took the pawn, white took it with the knight, black chop off that knight, white also chopped off the bishop. Now look at this position. This king is amazingly safe here, and we have weak square here, here, this, and the pawn will come to the black side, keeping pressure on the black side. So here black castled. As expected, white moved the pawn. Look at that. With these forces, white is trying to keep the tension on the board. Black played rook e8, attacking the knight on e4, and white immediately played knight d6, attacking the rook on e8. Now this rook has to move, so he played rook e8, and white played d5. No place for the rook. This is not a good place, and all other places are blocked. So what black did was he just swapped his rook with the knight. Yes, the black side will be slightly disadvantaged, with that, but as there was not much scope for the rook, he swapped off uh, rook with the knight, and now black played queen takes g5. Black is trying to relieve the tension with sacrificing the rook. Now white played queen f3. We should not forget there is still task to be done here because the pieces have not been opened up, and black chopped off the pawn and white just exchanged the queens now, and white came here. So if you check the white and black side, white pieces are ahead in the development. This rook is dead. This knight has not moved from here. There is a back rank weakness. More than anything in this game, what I liked was this king on f1. This is amazingly safe in this position. Black played knight a6 and white immediately played b4. There is no place for this knight. That knight is dead. So now black played h6. Here he is getting rid of the back rank weakness. If by any chance black tries to checkmate on the back rank, black side will have that place to move. So now white played rook h3. The idea is to just swing the rook to the other side, exchange the rook, enter into 7th and 8th rank, finish the game. So directly playing it here, playing it here is not good because of the knight, but he will swap the pieces and then he will play. So black played king h7, white just swung the rook to the d line, attacking the pawn. So this is the only move, knight f6, and now b5. The knight cannot go back because the rook will be dead. So he played knight c5. Now what white did was just stop the knight and won the pawn. Now if you check this, one, two, three, 4 pawns and 5 pawns. 4 versus 5. White needs to win one more pawn, but this, and this all are weak. So what happened was the black side played rook b8 attacking the b5 pawn, and white first supported the pawn. He is untying the rook. Now rook can move inside. So black played rook b7. He is not giving entry point for the white rook, but white played rook c7. Now white got the entry point and black resigned the game. It is easy to convert for the world champion to win this game, to win. So Smilov resigned the game. Yeah, we can play for some more time because we will our opponent is not Michael Botvinnik. So we'll try for some more time. But Smilov was playing against Botvinnik. Both are world champions. So they will not play this. This is obviously win for the white side. So have you understood the match?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's close this.